Hi everyone, welcome to the introductory course on QMetry test management, the AI-enabled test management solution offered by SmartBear. QMetry provides a single platform to manage everything from creating test cases for your requirements to generating reports for the executions that you have made, helping you track all activities related to software quality. Before we start, let me define some key terms in this tool. In QMetry's terminology, these are called as test assets. Those are requirements, test cases, test suite, and issues. So the requirement module contains the list of features that needs to be tested. Each requirement in QMetry can be linked to one or more test cases to set the coverage. While we recommend linking each test case to at least one requirement, QMetry does allow test cases without any linkages with requirement as well. Once the test cases are ready for execution, they can be added to a test suite, which is the execution module for testers to run their manual or automation tests. If you encounter any defect while executing a test, you can raise a bug using the issues module within QMetry or linked defect management systems. Once the execution has commenced, you can track the progress using either system or custom reports and share them with internal or external stakeholders. Let us get started with this course. Once the QMetry admin sets up your account, you will receive an onboarding email with the login details. If your organization uses single sign-on platforms like Okta or Azure AD, you can log in using those credentials too. I will log in using my credentials and show you the basic layout of this tool. Now, as a tester, it is helpful to see my action items right away. And in QMetry, your default dashboard shows you your assigned executions, your defects, and other key informations immediately after you log in. You can switch between your assigned projects by clicking on this drop-down and selecting the project that you want to work on. Keep in mind that the test assets that you see will belong to the project that you have selected. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see all the modules present for this project. Depending on your role for a project, you might see some modules that you can't access as well. If you think you need access to any of these modules which you don't have access to, please reach out to your QMetry admin. You can also personalize your QMetry profile by clicking on the name that is displayed on the top right side of your screen. Click on that name and by selecting profile, you would see your profile within QMetry. On the screen, you can change your displayed first name, last name, date, time, language, and other default dashboard that you see after login. Once you have completed all these basic setup, we will move on to the next modules where we'll explain and explore each one along with additional features in more detail.
The requirement module is a central repository for storing test requirements and business specifications. It helps you manage and track requirements throughout the development lifecycle. The requirements are divided into two parts. One, requirements that are created in QMetry called internal requirements. And second, requirements that are integrated with third-party tools like Jira, Azure, or Rally. Whenever you see external keys under the external key column, those requirements are coming from a third-party tool like Jira. And if it's empty, it is considered to be an internal requirement. In terms of UI, you can manage your requirements in a folder and subfolder structure. To create a new requirement, select the folder in which you would like to create a requirement. Click on plus new button. Provide the summary of a requirement. As an example, let's say that we are creating a requirement for a mobile food ordering system. Provide the priority associated with a certain release and cycle. Provide the description. Enter values to any mandatory fields. And once ready, click on Create button to create a requirement. Now navigate to any of the requirement from this page and you will be able to see all the details related to this requirement. If this particular project is integrated with Jira, testers will be able to see the Jira fields along with the QMetry's system and user-defined fields. The syncing of Jira fields is unidirectional, meaning that it will sync from Jira to QMetry. Testers can create test cases from test cases module by looking at this particular requirement and then link the test case to this requirement for traceability. In order to link a test case to this requirement, switch to the Test Cases tab, click on Link button, select the project from where you would like to link the test case, select the test case, and click on Link and Close button. This is how you can link a test case to this requirement. The Requirements module also supports versioning, traceability, and collaboration, making it easier for teams to align testing with business needs. Let us go back to the Requirements module and see how testers can filter this entire list. Now, testers can filter the requirements based on the QMetry fields or the Jira fields. As an example, let's say you would like to see the requirements with priority major. So just select QMetry filters, click on Advanced Filters and select the priority field. Select the value called major. Click Save and Apply to view the filtered result. You can also customize the layout of this page by using Show or Hide columns and select those fields which you would like to see and or hide. The Test Cases module is the central repository of test cases. Navigate to Test Cases module from the left. Click on plus new button to create a fresh test case. Enter all details like the summary, associate this test case to a certain release and cycle, select the test category, whether it's a functional test case, regression test case, and so on. Provide the description of the test case. And in the bottom, you can add multiple test steps, including the step description, input data, and expected outcome. Once ready, click on Create button to create a test case. Let us now look at the pre-populated test case. Open any test case and you will be able to see multiple tabs for a test case. You can see all the details, whether it is a system field, custom field related to this test case. All those details will be available right here. The test steps, whether this test case is attached to what release and cycle. And in terms of reusability, if you want to include the same test case for other release and cycle, you can also add new releases and cycle right here. Now, in order to edit a test case, you can also make updates, whether it is title, whether it is test steps, or any other information that you would like to update. So as an example, let's say I want to change the title of it. So I can update the title right here. Also, let's say if I want to modify a certain test step, you can click on Edit button. And you can basically click on Modify. Once ready, click on Update button to update a test case. QMetry also offers versioning of a test case so that the history of a test case is preserved. For example, if there is a change in the requirement, user might want to create new steps based on the new requirement. Click on icon called Create New Version on top right. Make updates, whether it is an update to a description, summary, or test steps. And once ready, click on Save as New Version, and a new version will be saved. You can anytime switch between different versions of a test case. So if I would like to go back to the previous one, you can just switch to a different version right from within the test case detail page to view the previous version of a test case. QMetry also offers a capability where users can link one or multiple requirements to this test case, which is really helpful for full traceability. In order to do so, switch to the Requirements tab, click on Link button, and select the requirement you would like to link for this test case. Here, cross-project linking is also available. So if you would like to link a requirement from some other project, you can switch to a different project, select that requirement, and click on Link and Close. So this is how you can create a test case, make edits to a test case, and link requirements to a single test case. Let us walk through the organizing of test assets and bulk operations in test cases module. Open the test case module list view. In terms of UI, you can manage your test cases in a folder and subfolder structure. The results as per your needs. As an example, let's say you want the list of all the test cases with priority as critical. So in that case, you can use the filter option. Click on the filters icon, and these are some of the basic filters that you can use. And in order to use some advanced filters, click on the plus icon here and select the field through which you want to filter the result. Here, select priority, select the value as blocker, hit save and apply. Hence, you will get the filtered results. QMetry also has a concept of labels, which is a system-defined field in modules like requirement. Navigate to the test case module, open any test case, and users will be able to see a field called label. This field is most often used for a major classification of a product or a service. Hence, you can also organize your test cases through these labels as well. Now, let's look at the bulk operations. Navigate back to the test cases module page. On top right, click on this icon and select bulk operations. There are multiple operations that you can use. Let's look at few of them. For bulk edit, select the edit operation you want to perform on the assets and click Next. The next screen displays records with the checkbox. Select assets on which you want to perform bulk operations by selecting the checkboxes. And hit Next. Now, let's say that I would want to update the priority of these test cases that I just selected as minor. So I'll select that and I'll click on Update. You can also bulk copy the assets from one folder to the other in the same project all across projects. Again, navigate to the bulk operations. Select the record that you would like to copy. Hit Next. Select in what project you would like to copy that asset. Let's say I want to do it within the same project, and then select the folder. Hit Copy. And this is how you can bulk copy multiple records at once. Users can also archive records which are not needed anymore. So in order to do that, again navigate to the bulk operations. Click on the option called Archive. Hit Next. Select the records or test cases that you do not like it anymore, or you don't need it anymore. hit archive. So this is how you can archive multiple records at once. To view the archived records, navigate back to the test cases module, click on the filter icon and click on show archived items. So this is where you'll be able to see the archived items as well. Let us talk about shareable test cases in QMetry. In the testing world, there could be some common steps that exist across multiple test cases in a project. That is when users can create shareable test case and reuse the shareable test case in some other test case. Let's look at an example. Navigate to the test cases module on the left. Click on any of the test case. Let's take an example of a login functionality. Navigate to the steps section and let's say that you would like to use the first 3 steps from this test case in some other test case. That is when you can create a shareable test case. So select the steps, click on Create Shareable Test Case button and provide the name of the test case. Click Create button to create a shareable test case. Now let's see how we can use this test case into some other test case. So navigate back to the test cases module and click on the plus new button to create a fresh test case. Provide all the details like summary, associated release and a cycle, some description, and in the bottom where you start developing the test case, where you start writing the test steps, comes the part where you can insert some shareable test case. So if you click on this plus icon, click on Insert Shareable Test Case option, and you will be able to see all the shareable test case that exist in this particular project. Cross-project linking is also available, so you can easily switch to some other project and bring some shareable test cases from some other project to the current project as well. So let's select the shareable test case that we just created. Click on Link and Close. Now, if you click on Expand, you'll be able to see that the steps part of this particular test case is automatically appended in this test case. So this is how you can use a test case within a test case. Let us also see how you can view the shareable test cases from the test cases module list view. In order to view shareable test cases, click on the filtered icon and there will be an option called Show Only Shareable. Select the checkbox and you will be able to see the list of all your shareable test cases that you have created. Let us talk about parameterized test cases. This feature enables testers to run the same test case multiple times with different data inputs without duplicating the test cases. It replaces hard-coded values with parameters, allowing QA teams to store and share reusable test data across QMetry projects. Navigate to the test cases module on the left, select Data Parameter. In order to create a new parameter, click on the plus new button on top right. Provide the parameter name. As an example, let's say we want to create a parameter called user type. Select the project to associate the parameter with. You can select one or multiple projects at a time. Provide the description, it is an optional field, and then provide the values. Let's say the values for a user type could be read only, admin, super admin, and regular. This is how you can add values to the data parameter. Click on Create button and you will be able to see all the data parameters in this list view. Next is to add the data grid. It is a kind of a table that has rows and columns within it. As an example, click on plus new button to create a new data grid. Provide the data grid name. Let's say I want a data grid for the employee types. Select the project here. Provide the description, and this is where you can provide your parameter name. I already have employee ID parameter, and I want to add another parameter that we just created called user type. Select the parameters, and this is where you select the values for each of the parameter. Once added, click on Create button to create a new data grid. Once the user creates the test data sets with parameters and grids, it can be used in the test steps. Navigate to the test cases module. Now let's say that a user would like to create a new test case. As an example, in the test steps section, now let's use the parameters that we just created. In order to use the data parameter, type @ and you will be able to see the list of all the data parameters. So let's say that you want employee has rights of @ let's use the another data parameter that we had created. And once you are ready, click on the Create button to create a test case. So this is how you use a data parameter in the test steps section while creating a test case. Values to the data parameter can be given at the time of execution. In that case, let us navigate to the test suites. Let's say, for example, we already have a test suite created. And in that, navigate to test cases to link the test case that we just created. Select the test case called test data parameterization. Click on link and close. As soon as you link a test case, and let's say it's a parameterized test case, then you will be able to see the @ sign here in blue color. This means that the system is prompting the user to link the parameter values. So add the values manually here or add a data grid here. So click on the @ sign. Either fill the data manually or select the data grid. Since we have already created the data grid, select the data grid and you can see that the values will auto-populate itself. Click on the Save button. Once you link the parameter values, the @ sign will turn into green color, which means that you have already added and updated the parameter values here. Hence, when you execute, test runs for each different parameter combinations will be available for you to execute. So navigate to the test execution session. Click on the Execute button. Navigate to the test case that we had just linked. And here you can see that a separate test run for each of the combination is available to you. And users can start executing the test cases and the test steps on this particular screen. That is it for the test data parameterization.
This module will help testers record the results for the tests signed, be it manual test case execution or automation execution. Test Suite module can help you easily record results for your tests. Let us first understand what a test suite is. A test suite consists of three things: test cases, platforms, and release cycle. We already know what test cases are. Platforms could be the hardware or software where you are performing your tests. For example, if you are testing a web application, your platform might look like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, etc. Similarly, if you are testing mobile apps, your platforms could be iOS or Android. If you have customization privilege, you can always create platforms using this platform and attribute option. If not, QMetry project admin can help you create new platforms. Release and cycle refers to the version of the system that you are testing. The cycle in particular refers to the iteration of testing or the purpose of testing like smoke, sanity, regression, or end-to-end tests. When test cases are linked to one or more platforms and one or more release cycles, you get a test suite. Within a test suite, there are different test runs available. Each test run can be uniquely identified through a release cycle and platform combination. If you want to record results for a particular release cycle and platform, you can click on this execute button and dive deep into the execution script. Let us go ahead and execute this Maple Watch. Once you are on the execution screen, you can switch between the default view and detail view. Default view is a compact representation of all the elements that are required to execute test cases. If you prefer to have your own view consisting of fields that matter most to you, you can select appropriate fields and only those fields would be part of this list. On the other hand, if you prefer working with an expanded fields view, detailed view should be your choice. Irrespective of your choice of view, let us dive deep into important aspects of the execution screen. On the execution screen, you can see the list of test cases included for the execution and a colored indication indicating their execution status. You can easily switch between test cases by clicking on appropriate test case summary, and relevant step level details would appear. As a tester, you can start the timer before you start executing a test case, and QMetry will record the time till you complete the test case, or you can even stop it manually. You can also pause the timer in case if you want to complete the current execution later. This would automatically stop recording time if you accidentally close the execution window. You can also filter test cases on the screen based on specified criteria. For example, if you want to see only test cases that are assigned to you, you can simply click on the filters and select your username. I will enter my username and click on save it and apply. The filter would be applied and saved automatically. Now I am seeing only test cases that are assigned to me for execution. These filters would be applied and saved automatically. So next time when you come back to the execution screen, you would see the same filters applied automatically as well. In case if you want to remove those filters, you can easily click on this remove filter button. Let us execute a test case and see all the options available to us. Once you are on the test case that needs to be executed, you can start reading through the steps and mark results accordingly. You can add a step level execution status like pass, fail, or whichever is applicable, and provide its actual outcome against the expected outcomes if applicable. You can even mention someone in the comment section using this @key icon. This mentioned user will be getting an email notification that you have been mentioned in the comment section of QMetry. Both actual outcome and comments field are rich text enabled, so you can add inline images, tables, bulleted lists, or other type of text formatting easily. If needed, you can even add large attachments to individual steps using this attachment icon. You can even paste your screenshots that are captured and kept at your clipboard level. Let us assume that while executing a test case, you encountered some failure. In that case, you can mark that step as failed and raise a defect at step level. If you click on this defect button, you can choose to link an existing defect in your system. Now, in case if your current project is integrated with Jira or Ready or even Azure, you would be able to create a defect directly into that defect management tool. If not, your defects would be created and managed within QMetry. So let us go ahead and create an issue and select appropriate project and instance for my Jira and the issue type that I wanted to create. Based on that, QMetry will automatically add the test case summary as a description for your defect summary. You can change or update it as well as description field would be then automatically populated based on the steps that you have performed. This would facilitate the steps to reproduce as part of the description to help development team understand how the defect was encountered. What was the build, what was the environment in which tester was executing it, and a step-by-step summary to reproduce the defect in the current system, so that you do not need to communicate or document the steps to reproduce. It will be done automatically. If there are a lot of test case executions that you want to change in a single go, you can leverage bulk operations and change execution status, assigning, time taken to execute, and other relevant fields for multiple test cases at once. Let us change the execution status for few test cases using bulk operation. I'll select the test cases that needs to be updated, and then I'll select the status that is appropriate. And that's how we have executed 3 test cases at once. A button next to it allows you to set the build that you are testing on. This is again something that can be created by your project admin if not already available to you. Once an execution is started or it's completed, if you want to share a quick update with your team members, you can click on this export button and download the execution report in PDF or Word document. This can also be oriented in landscape or portrait mode, and you can choose to export additional details like any execution attachments, linked requirements, linked defects, along with the execution details. Once an execution is completed, and if you want to reuse the same test suite for upcoming iteration, you can also link a new release cycle to get new test runs. I'll click on Add New button, select my upcoming release that is in Q2, and that would be for it could be a default cycle, and I can click on Save. So accordingly, I would have new test runs available on my test execution screen. So both these runs belong to Q2 release and IOMI Watch as well as Maple Watch as platforms. You can also copy a test suite if there is a need, along with all the test cases, platforms, and release cycle. To copy a test suite, simply scroll to the right for the test suite that you want to copy. Click on the gear button, click on copy, and you can also select whether you want to copy existing release cycle or link new release and cycle for executions. Once selected with appropriate options, you can click on copy to initiate the copy process. We will see how to import your automation results in upcoming module when we discuss automation and integration in detail.
QMetry Test Management Exploratory Testing is an add-on that allows the testers or the business analyst to carry out testing while they explore websites. It helps save time by allowing the users to investigate the site instead of writing every single test activity. All the actions performed by the user is recorded and documented by QMetry, and users can create test cases and executions from the sessions recorded during exploratory testing. Navigate to the exploratory testing module from the left, click Exploratory API, and the very first step is to generate the Exploratory API key and download the extensions for any of your Chrome, Firefox, or Edge browsers. Once installed, you can click on the extension and enter the QMetry URL and the API key that we just generated. Hit Login to enter your session details. As an example, let's say I want to record my Amazon shopping session. And if you want to add any tags, you can enter it here. And if you want to record console and network logs, just mark this checkbox and hit Start Recording. Now you can see the recording has been started. Now let's switch the tab, click on Amazon.com, hit Enter, and then let's search for an item. From this list, let's select a product. Now in this page, let's say I want to make some assertions on the price. So in order to do that, you hit the recording button where you see different options to start and stop assertions, to log defects on the fly, to record your audio. If you want to add any annotations, you can do that as well. Let's say I want to start an assertion on the price. I'll click on it and then I will stop it. Also, let's say I want to add this item to the cart. So I'll try to click on Add to Cart button. But looks like this is not working. So I, as a tester, if I want to log a defect on the fly, I'll click on the recording icon, click the bug icon, and log a defect right here. And if I would like to highlight something on the page, I can do that as well. Once ready, click on Log Issue. Hit X. And once, let's say you are done with the recording, click on the recording and click on Stop button. This means that the recording has stopped and the session is now being saved to QMetry. So if you go back to QMetry, click on the refresh icon and you can see your session. Click enter and you'll be able to see all your screenshots of whatever actions you performed on the website, along with the documented version of it, which means it will give you the step details, input data, expected outcome. And directly from here, you can create a test case and a test execution. If there were any defects logged on the fly, you can see it right here. And if you recorded console and network logs, you'll be able to see that here as well. These sessions can also be exported in PDF and Word formats. This is how users can use exploratory testing for their website testing.
Let's now explore how QMetry supports automation executions and integrates with CI/CD pipelines. QMetry relies on the automation frameworks to parse execution results that are generated from your automation tool. This means you don't need to worry about integrating tools individually. Even if you switch tools or add new tools, QMetry will still be able to parse your automation results. Let's look at the type of automation framework supported. To do this, click on the Help button that is available on the top right of your screen. This would lead you to the documentation of QMetry. Click on the Integration menu and Automation submenu. You can then refer to supported frameworks and languages. Each framework is parsed differently, and QMetry's documentation explains the required structure for each one. Let's walk through an example using Cucumber framework. Suppose you are creating and running your automation tests in Cucumber Studio. Once the execution is completed, all you need to do is pass the result file to QMetry. QMetry will then handle the rest. If you also want to link your automation tests with requirement or any existing test cases, you just need to pass appropriate parameters along with the result file. Irrespective of the automation framework you are using, once the result file is generated, there are multiple ways through which you can upload your result file to QMetry. The most commonly used method is plugin like Jenkins. If your automation is part of a build pipeline, QMetry's CI/CD integrations allow you to publish results automatically. It also supports tools like Maven if you are building your project using it. Automation API is the most flexible option that allows you to publish results from any third-party platform via an API call. Each supported framework has its own parsing logic. For instance, in Cucumber, if a result file has a name property within element, it is considered as a test case. Any step name property within that element is considered as a test step. You can refer to the documentation for more details about how your chosen framework is parsed. For uploading the result file, Let us take Jenkins as an example. You need to install a plugin from your Jenkins marketplace for QMetry. Once installed, you can use it as a post-build action once your pipeline is built and automation is completed. All you need to do is enter the credentials, specify the project for which execution should be created or existing execution should be reutilized, choose the release cycle that needs to be associated, and you can also link to an existing test suite as part of this plugin. Once everything is configured, save the setting and run the pipeline. This will validate the setup and publish your automation results to QMetry. QMetry also allows you to trigger this pipeline directly from the test suite page using the CI/CD trigger button. If you refer to a test suite where automation is enabled, you can identify trigger CI/CD rule button. You can ask your project admin to create a CI/CD rule, or if you have access, you can create these CI/CD rules and link them with individual test suite. Once linked, you can click on this button to trigger it successfully. And if you want to schedule your automation jobs on a particular device, you can use QMetry's automation agent. It is a feature that allows you to schedule jobs in advance without any manual intervention. To configure this feature, your project admin, or if you have permissions, you can navigate to Integration and Automation Agent submenu. You can download this agent on your machine. Once downloaded and configured based on the steps provided, that agent would appear on this list. You can schedule this job, run commands like maven test, and you can choose to run it once or run later, either as a one-time or a recurring execution.
I will walk you through how QMetry helps you track your work, access powerful dashboards, and generate actionable reports, making your testing smarter, faster, and more traceable. Let's start with something every tester needs, which is knowing what's assigned to you and what's pending. Navigate to My Dashboard, select your username from the drop-down, and you will be able to see all the test cases, test executions, and tasks which are currently assigned to you. As an example, let's say that I want to view all the pending test cases. So just click on it and you will be able to view the entire list of all the test cases that are yet pending. When it comes to reporting, QMetry offers two main types: system reports and custom reports. System reports are out-of-the-box reports provided by QMetry. So as an example, if you navigate to the QMetry system reports, you'll be able to see the entire list of all the reports available. Some of the important reports are the requirement report, which gives you the overall requirement coverage, how many requirements are covered versus not covered. The test cases report, how many test cases are manual versus automated. The overall test execution summary report, and the traceability report. There are 150 plus system reports that QMetry offers out of the box. Let's look at two main reports, which is the test execution report and the traceability report. To navigate to the test case execution report, click on the execution summary report, where you will be able to see the overall test execution analysis, which means how many test cases are passed, failed, not run. And you can further filter these reports based on your needs. So as you can see, each report will have its own filter and you can customize it the way you would want. Next is the traceability report, which gives you the end-to-end traceability at a requirement level, at a test case level, issues or executions level. It will give you a record of the requirement which is linked to that test case, what issues are logged for that particular test case, it is executed against what platform release and cycle. So all these details will be available to you in the traceability report. Now let's talk about drilling down into the execution reports. So if you go back to the execution summary report, and here you can see that how many test cases are passed, failed, not run, and so on. With QMetry, you don't just see top-level matrix, you can click on any of the execution report to explore the details. So as an example, if I want to see all the failed ones, just click on it and you'll be able to see all the failed records. So simply drill down to see all the details of that particular report. This granular visibility is key to root cause analysis and faster decision making. The other type of report is the custom reports, where you can define your own KPIs, apply filters, and export results to share with your management and stakeholders. To access the custom reports, navigate to the QMetry Insight module, and you'll be able to see two options. One is visual reporting, which is nothing but a drag and drop functionality. And the other is advanced query reporting, which is nothing but SQL writing. So if a user is proficient with SQL, they can write SQL queries and generate reports. As an example, let's say that I already have two reports generated. One is the report created using visual reporting, which gives me the entire count of test suite by my execution status. Once you drag and drop the fields, you can also perform some math operations on top of it and generate a report. In terms of visualization, QMetry offers different forms, as in donut chart, bar chart, pie chart, and you can customize it the way you would like. Let's now look at one example which is created using SQL query. So you can write as complex SQL queries as you would like and generate a report. Once all your reports are ready, users can create a dashboard and have all their important reports in one place. So as an example, let's say that this is one of the dashboard I have already created, and you can add multiple widgets to this dashboard. If you click on Add Gadgets, this is where you can add any of the system reports available, or if you have created any custom report and if you would like to have that in your dashboard, you can add that as well. And this is how a dashboard would look like, which can have multiple reports in a single dashboard. Export, schedule, and sharing capabilities using embedded URL is also available in QMetry. So you can export in PDF, you can schedule it, or you can use this embedded URL and share this URL to share the reports.
When we talk about AI features for testing, QMetry offers some of the truly helpful AI features designed to help testing teams accelerate testing phases and focus more on productive tasks. From auto-generating test cases, generating reports based on user descriptions, identifying flaky tests, spotting duplicate test cases, to searching project documentation, QMetry's AI features are built to support testers at every stage. As part of this brief training, we'll cover 3 of these important features in detail, starting with the auto-generate test cases. This feature reads your requirement, which could be originating from Jira, Rally, Azure, or even QMetry's internal requirement module. If you don't have a formal requirement created, you can simply describe the feature you want to test and QMetry will suggest possible test scenarios. If you already have a test case that you want to refine or modify, you can use from an existing test case option. Let us see how to generate test cases for a requirement that is created in Jira. I'll select the user story that's already created by my product manager and click on Generate Test Cases button. Wait for the AI model to suggest test cases. Once the test cases are generated, you can review them, modify the steps if required. You can even change the description if needed. If a test case does not meet your requirement, you can choose to decline it and move to the next one. After reviewing, the accepted test cases will be created and automatically associated with the user story that you have utilized as a base. Let us assume you are creating test cases manually. In that case, identifying duplicate test case can be really helpful to make sure your repository looks clean and efficient. The second AI feature is QQBot. This AI feature helps you identify duplicate test cases or requirements. It also suggests possible linkages while you are drafting a new test cases or requirements. For example, if I am creating this test case right now, it would suggest any possible duplicates within this repository. It would also show me possible linkages with requirements if a relevant requirement is found in this repository. This is especially helpful when you are about to create redundant test assets, as it saves you from manually searching and linking them, saving time and reducing clutter in your test repository. Let's now also talk about the Smart Search feature, that is the third AI feature. Suppose you are busy and need quick help with something, whether related to QMetry's functionality or your project documentation. You can simply type your query in the AI-powered search bar. For example, I want to understand how to import test cases in QMetry using Excel file. I can simply type my query in this Smart Search and I would receive an instant summary as a response. If you want more detail, you can also click on a link to read the full topic. If your QMetry project admin has uploaded relevant project documents for you to search through, you can switch over to project documentation and ask relevant queries. It would similarly suggest a brief summary and a relevant link to the document at top. This was just a brief overview of the AI features available in QMetry. You can always read more about these capabilities in the official documents. Please note that these AI features need to be enabled by your admin and you must be assigned access to use them individually. Let us now discuss the compliance and approval workflows in QMetry. Whenever a user makes any change to a test asset or a configuration, that activity automatically captured as a change log for that asset. If I go ahead and make some changes to test case, for example, let's go ahead and make changes to this particular test case. I'll change its status from open to in progress and also assign it the test category of functional. Now once these changes are made, the system will record the activity in the change log. This log helps you track what change was made, when and by whom, including a comparison of the before and after values. So if you notice any unintentional changes in a test asset, you can always refer to the change log to investigate and trace it. On the approval workflow side, if your project has the e-signature feature enabled, all test assets will follow a defined approval hierarchy before they can be used. You can refer to the hierarchy by navigating to your menu and e-signature's approval access submenu. In QMetry, an approval matrix can be introduced at 4 levels: requirement, test case, test run for execution, and test run for closure. The approval matrix for each of these is configured by your project admin. Let's take the example of a test case. When a new test case is created, it will follow the defined approval workflow. In this case, the test case will first go to the senior tester level. Any user assigned at this level can review and approve the test case. Once approved, the test case will progress to the QA lead level, and so on, until all required levels are approved. Only after approvals are completed at all the levels, that test case can be used for execution. You can also track approval status of test cases directly from the test case list view. On the test case list view, the progress can be tracked by the tick mark. An orange tick mark indicates that the test case is still pending approval at one or more levels. A green tick mark, on the other hand, indicates that the test case has been reviewed and approved at all the levels and it is ready for execution. If you click on a test case, you can also view its approval history in detail. Note that once a test case is approved at all the levels, it cannot be edited. If you need to make changes, you must create a new version of the test case. In scenarios where a test asset has more than one approval level and the asset is rejected at any level, the owner will receive a notification. Once the suggested changes are made, the test asset will be then routed back to the first level of approval matrix. For test runs, the approval matrix follows similar rule with one additional capabilities, that is to close or lock a test run. This is especially useful for QA managers to ensure that once the scope of the test run is complete, no further modification can be made to the test run. If you are part of any approval level, you will receive an email notification when an asset needs your review. You can also track all pending and completed approvals using the system report called Approval Workflow Report.
Let us recap the key capabilities of QMetry Test Management. QMetry Test Management is a comprehensive test management platform designed to streamline the entire software testing lifecycle. It enables teams to efficiently create, manage, and reuse test cases, ensuring consistency and traceability across projects. QMetry supports both manual and automated testing, offering seamless integration with popular tools like Jira, Selenium, Jenkins, TestNG, Cucumber, and so on. With features such as version control, test data parameterization, and modular test design, it promotes reusability and collaboration. The platform also offers robust reporting and analytics, including real-time dashboards, traceability metrics, and compliance-ready audit trails, making it suitable for both agile and enterprise-scale environments. There are various sources that can guide you through QMetry in case you need help. You can email the account manager or the solution engineer with your queries, or navigate through the detailed documentation available on help.qmetry.com. Select the product, let's say it's Enterprise Test Management SaaS version. And this is where you can type in your query, or you can even search the documentation based on various topics available right here to learn more about QMetry Test Management. Navigation to the help guide is also available from the app. If you navigate to the help icon right here on top right. Hope you have a great testing journey with QMetry. Bye for now.